Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Scale Smart podcast. I'm your host, Jacob, and also the founder of Next Scale Growth. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Ederico Rocha, the co founder and CEO of RW Interactive. Ederico, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Ederico, before we get into the questions and the flow of the podcast, do you mind telling me and also the audience a little bit more about yourself, what your expertise consists of, and what you guys actually do at RW Interactive?
Sure. So I'm Ederico Rocha. I'm the CEO of RW Interactive. And before being owner of a company, I was a developer, senior consultant. I've been through many stages in my career, always working as a corporate consultant. And then I decided to have my own space in this.
So, what do you guys specialize in?
So basically, we do everything from web development and mobile development. And currently, we are already in the forays of AI, blockchain, IoT, especially. And we do a lot of B2B business. So internet, CRM, specialties, all that stuff.
Amazing, amazing. And Enrico, as you guys grew beyond them early stage clients, what would you say was some of the biggest challenges and some of the biggest challenges you're facing right now in actually scaling the company?
Well, you can say that I've gone through every single step. So before even I've created the company, I work for myself. We created which is called an individual company, which is you and you alone are the owner and the sole collaborator in the company. And I work like that because once I moved out of the corporate world, I moved out of the town, the city itself. So I went to a small town, raised my little kid, and I worked by myself. And I had a lot of success with these freelancer sites like Upwork, Freelancer, whatnot. Eventually, I got so much success that I was having too much work for me to handle alone. And that's when I started getting people in. So, as with everything, human resources is a big, big, big issue in companies. And I experienced that. So, it was hard to get someone with the right temperament to be on my team. So a little bit of back and forth there. I eventually gained some people in my team, which I was very comfortable. Had the same values that I had the same wants that I wanted, and we started getting projects and getting work done. And eventually, it scaled to a point where I created my company and I put some people in it, and also others I contract as retainers. Eventually, I overstep all the situations. One of the good things that we have is we're very communicative. So we interest with so we don't just do the project. We actually are interested in the business of the customer, and we try to understand what is his vision so we can adapt his idea, because mostly customers have an idea but they don't really they have so they have only this path because this is what they know. So like you say, once if you only have a hammer, every problem looks as nails, right? So they don't have the right tool set. And now, once we know what they want to achieve, we can start giving them different pathways or different shortcuts to get them where they want. And they appreciate that very much. So that's one of our strong points. So eventually, I started scale the business, but there was a lot of loops. There was a lot of problems. We didn't have the right processes in stake. So it was very difficult, for example, to onboard new people without a specific a standardized process. And that's very, very useful. So I started to adapt the adage that you know the process, you optimize the process, and then you automate the process. And that's the fastest way for you to have the quality that you want, but in the shortest amount of time. So we scaled the business. We gathered a lot of projects outside in the US and UK and Australia, which was our biggest market. And we eventually started being known, and we started getting projects in Portugal as well, and in Europe. And somehow after 2023, our biggest source of projects was Upwork. So that was a very good it had its problems, but the majority of customers was there. After 2023, there was a shift in the platform. It started to go to derail completely.
Mhm.
Their business model started to go very greedy in the connects and whatnot. So we moved out of that and finding our way because we didn't. So that was another thing. We did not have anything related to marketing and sales, none of it. And one of the things that we only had like the portfolio that we did and everything was in Upwork. So we needed to transport that and we were a little bit late and that was one of our obstacles. We are
Yeah.
now during this whole time that we are in 2025, we are implementing a huge plan on marketing, which basically is, as most people do, but everything had to be done. So we had to scalpel everything, every project that we did. We had
Yeah.
to showcase what our work did as a value to our customer, all that stuff we had to do. And then we had to implement all the necessary tools like the email campaign marketing tool and provide a good strategy in order for us to do the showcasing and then plan some sort of a lead magnet. So all that stuff is in the works. We have probably at 65-70% of that, and our goal is to implement that at the end of September and start rolling out articles, case studies, postmortems, and then having a way for them to book a consultation, free consultation with us, and we can show them how we can provide value, improve their business, go faster to the market, fast prototyping, etc.
Amazing, amazing. It sounds really good what you guys have got planned as well. And I think within the software services industry, from a lot of the clients who I've worked with and also currently work with now, it's such a competitive space now. There's so many software companies coming up. And this is why I wanted to ask you this question is how are you guys maintaining your competitive edge in a very, very crowded space? So like what strategies and differentiators are you currently leaning on to, let's say, get ahead of the noise?
Well, it is complicated. There's a lot of space, and I tend to make a joke that this space, this market, is very much like the dating market. So the next girlfriend always talks trash about the old girlfriend, and this is more or less how it happens. Is the newcomer. So if there is something that the customer has a problem with or wants to have a second opinion, the rate that person at this consultation does a disfavor to the customer saying, hey, this is all wrong, let's do this all over again, and they have their own ideas. I mean, I'm not saying that they're doing evil, but basically what they're doing is they have this path, like they have this set of tools and they work with this set of tools. For them, it's the best way they can achieve that result, and everything else is not as good. And so it is very, because there's a lot of different technologies, there's a lot of different languages, millions of ways of achieving the same result. It's very easy for you to adapt a certain philosophy and then go with the flow. So what we usually do is we try not to go that way. So we work with what the customer has, and we are very, very good at recovering projects that have been stalled, that have problems, because it's very easy to go into a comfort zone, and that's the biggest issue. So once things work, sometimes there's this knowledge of, we did this very fast and we need to refactor this, but let's stick this, and that's a technical that stays in, and that goes and accumulates into a performance loss. So what we think of is we try to get the best knowledge possible from the business model, try to figure out how the customer will gain some value out of that, and try to optimize by giving suggestions on their outset. Or if they really need something fixed very quickly, we do that, but we pinpoint every technical that we create, and then we go and do some sidestepping with new implementations and refactoring old code so we can keep getting ahead of the curve in terms of performance. And this is something that most customers don't understand when you try to give them some eye opening, is that they have to more or less continue to upgrade their systems, because the systems itself, like computers and mobile phones, etc., keep upgrading at a faster rate. Other than that, we try to keep ahead of the curve in terms of how to do things. For example, there was this customer that had an implementation with DeepL for translation, which was very expensive. So we created, by using AI, we created a similar translator agent that that reduced their costs by 70%, more or less 70-75% in terms of translation, which was a huge gain. So we do all these small, but by understanding how the technology works, and this is how we can achieve the better result and gain that competitive edge across all competitors.
And Enrique, you just mentioned there about implementing AI, and I think AI is a lot of software companies now are either offering AI or building some form of AI, because realistically, if they don't, then the other software development companies who are just going to overtake. So obviously, you guys have begun offering AI and machine learning services within the past year. How do you see AI actually reshaping your portfolio?
Well, as a market, AI is already reshaping the entire market because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of applications that already allow you to create applications themselves using AI in a faster rate. And then you just have to go and just push some knobs and get everything going. There's a lot of work behind the scenes where AI already creates some mockups so you can prototype a lot faster. And all that stuff is getting a lot of the old development companies out of the market. So if you can prototype a lot faster and showcase the customer how it's going to be, like in days instead of in weeks, that's going to be a huge leverage. So our goal is, there's a lot of niches with AI. Currently AI, and this is something that I've talked about, currently AI is using its big brain and the memories, which is internet. What we have is interaction of AI with knowledge and with the virtual space. What about AI interacting with the real world? Sensors, actuators, triggers, all that stuff, and not only on the factories, which is already it's already well implemented, but using AI and automation to make our lives easier, like home automations with AI, machines with sensors and AI that can perform. For example, let's say you have a Roomba, right? Why don't you have a lawnmower similar to a Roomba that can do your garden and just cut the lawn themselves and take the livelihood of several different kids in the US. So those are different ways of doing. So you have already robo taxis. You can have delivery people, delivery robots like Uber Eats, but using AI, using a carefully mapped fleet management, so you always have the nearest guy to get the food, and in this way deliver the food as fresh as possible. So there's a lot of ways. Where you can use AI to uh, start influencing the real life. So the lives that we live in the real world, in the physical world. And this is something that we try to, we already have a couple of projects in motion that's dealing precisely with that. And I think that's what's going to be in our portfolio in the next 10 years, for example.
And Enrico, looking into the future now of the company in the next 6 to 12 months, in terms of growing the company to that next level, reaching out to new customers, scaling the revenue to different heights, what are some of the goals you guys have got for the company over the next 6 to 12 months or so?
Well, we've been trying to create the whole marketing process. There's a lot of processes that we are in the gripes of doing. So the RH process of onboarding people, so the standard way of doing, not just, okay, we have an RH person here that does human resources, and they going to get the person and do the interview and whatnot. But if we lose that person, we lose the standard. So we need to have all the process done, and whoever it is that's taking over the HR at that point will know what the standard is. And we have to do this across the board, not only for reporting. So one of our goals for 2026, especially, is to document all processes and improve the quality that we deliver to customers, not only in terms of documentation, reporting, etc. In terms of the overarching goal, we have several goals. So we have a goal for the revenue for next year, and we have a goal of prototyping new stuff. So we are implementing a lab for research. That's something that we didn't have at this point. That will be filled with with determined capacity using our profits. And our goal is to get our people to do research stuff using whatever they find, wherever they feel like it. They present the project, and we give the go ahead or not based on the presentation. So this is something that will allow us to get ahead of the curve and start implementing and prototyping and showcasing and give that new value for our portfolio. Other than that, our goal is to also get this wave of reindustrialization of Europe and search for. So the industry and the factories are taking a turn. They have to be smarter, they have to be quicker by presenting stuff into the market as fast as possible. So our goal is to go after those customers and grab a couple of them for next year. So these are basically our goals. We don't have overarching goals for the next decade, for example. We have a year by year situation where we evaluate the current goals, where we're at, and we plan for the next year.
Amazing. And Ederico, if people wanted to reach out to you and find out more about what you guys are doing, or they wanted to inquire, where's the best place for people to find you?
Well, we are in LinkedIn. They can find by my name. They can find by RW Interactive. We have our own site, rwinteractive.com, where they can book a free consultation with us and figure out everything that we have to offer them. And I'm always available, like for you to do a small, have a nice chat and talk about what's coming.
Amazing. Well, Ederico, thank you so much for joining me today on the Scale Smart podcast. It's been great having you on.
Thank you so much for having me.